What happens when two of the world's most influential thought leaders, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, decide to host a free virtual event for hundreds of thousands of people across the globe? You get Thrive in 2025. A high-impact 3-day experience streamed on YouTube and Zoom that pulled together strategy, service, and storytelling in a way that most events can only hope to. But here's the thing, it wasn't another motivational seminar or overproduced live stream. It was a masterclass in how to move people online. And it confirmed everything I've been saying about the future of virtual and hybrid events. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down what made Thrive in 2025 so effective, from the psychology of engagement to the design choices you probably missed, and the deeper strategic takeaways that every planner, speaker, and leader needs to know. So if you're someone who cares about delivering real impact and results, this is the breakdown you've been looking for. So let's get into it. Tony Robbins, Jillian Turecki, Jay Shetty, Matthew McConaughey, and many more, all for free with a $1 VIP upgrade. And for every $1,
we passed 1 million meals that we're going to be donating in your name for those of you who chose the VIP upgrade. We're taking your dollar. Yeah, give it up for that. We're taking your dollar, we're matching the dollar, and it'll be over 1 million meals.
Over 900,000 people across the world tuned in live, not to a stadium, not to a network broadcast, to a virtual event. Thrive in 2025 wasn't just another webinar. It was a full-scale, multi-day digital experience designed to move people. You had live coaching moments, interactive reflections with world-class speakers, high-energy warm-ups that pulled people into the moment, and the best part, people showed up from different countries, different time zones, cameras on, minds open, hearts in it. I was scrolling LinkedIn and saw a post from an event planner that asked, "What's one thing you do to help your attendees feel seen?" And there was a reply from a project manager saying she went down the rabbit hole around how to create a sense of belonging at events. This is a real challenge that event planners are facing. So what did Thrive do that actually made this show feel alive? Because while the content was strong, there were design choices behind the scenes that made Thrive in 2025 feel like an experience, not just another virtual event. And it all came down to understanding people. Let's take what I call the Jumbotron Effect. You've seen it at basketball games. The second someone sees themselves on the big screen, their entire energy changes. They light up, they get hyped, they wave. But why? Because they've been seen. And Thrive recreated that virtually. In the Zoom VIP room, they spotlighted attendee screens on the main stage for thousands of people to see. Some people were dancing to the music, some people were smiling, and once they realized they were live, they got even more hyped. The energy just got even more lit. And everybody else watching thought, wait, I want to be on camera too. So more cameras came on, more energy, more presence. That's not a gimmick. That's thoughtful experience design. Because when people feel like they matter, they engage. And it didn't stop there. Dean and Tony had a wall of VIP attendee screens in front of them. So as they were teaching, they were acknowledging people by name.
Incantation of her saying, just said, I can do. I see you, Caleb, right?
I see Jerry, Louise.
Now they're not talking at an audience, they're co-creating an experience with them. Because even in a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people, that moment made them feel like they're in the room. And that's the psychology of acknowledgement. Maybe you've heard the quote by Dale Carnegie, "A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." When someone calls you by name, your brain literally lights up. Your ears perk up, your attention sharpens, and in a virtual space where it's easy to feel like just another name in the attendee list, that kind of moment hits even harder. Then they reinforce that connection by showing live comments on the screen in real time. And this might seem like a small design move, but psychologically it lands pretty big. Because when you type something in the chat and you see your comment show up on the main screen, it's instant feedback. It tells the audience you're not just watching, you're a part of this. And that emotional nudge keeps people leaning in again and again. That's when engagement becomes something that just happens naturally and no longer is something that you have to chase. And whether you're in coaching, education, nonprofit, or service-based industry, people aren't tuning in just to get information. They want to feel connected to something bigger. So if you want to move people during your events, this is where you start. Not with more tools, but with thoughtful design that puts people first. And let me be clear, The tech still matters. The tools, the platform, the logistics, they all play a role. But if you start there and skip the part where you actually design for how people feel, you'll miss the very thing that makes your event memorable. So I want you to remember this. Design sets the stage. Everything else follows. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I don't have the budget to put on a production on the level of Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi? And trust me, I get it. But here's the thing. Most of these design choices don't always require a higher budget. They just require better intention. So if you're leading an event with a small team, I want you to ask yourself, who naturally brings energy in the office? Who's able to light up a Zoom call without even trying? Who knows how to make people feel welcome? And it's not always the person with the biggest title, but whoever it is, give them the job of hyping people up in the chat. Let your attendees feel seen and welcome before the keynote even begins. Because with or without a big budget, that kind of presence, planning, and preparation will always create more meaningful engagement. And in today's landscape, that's the edge. Now, let's actually zoom out for a second. We talked about the design choices that made Thrive so effective, but what if I told you they weren't just for the audience? This is something I see get overlooked pretty often. Event planners will see the audience has one big group, but the best virtual events, the ones that actually land, are designed with the experiences of each stakeholder in mind. I like to call this stakeholder experience design. It's easy to only focus on your attendees, but they're just one part of the equation. You have to think about every stakeholder in the experience. Your attendees, your speakers, your hosts, your team behind the scenes. Each of these stakeholders play a role. When you start thinking of the experience design for each stakeholder, everything changes because now you're not just running a virtual event. You're engineering a system where every part of the show is supporting someone's role, someone's buy-in, someone's ability to fully show up. The audience needs to feel acknowledged, not just invited. This is where strategies like the Jumbotron Effect or live comment displays come in. These create small feedback loops that say, you matter here. Not just in theory, in real time. Now, when we look at speakers, Thrive didn't just throw a keynote on screen and call it a day. When it was time for Tony Robbins to speak, they played a cinematic highlight reel of his mission, moments, and global impact. That wasn't just for hype, that was speaker experience design. That brief pattern interrupt created anticipation, elevated his authority, and gave the audience a chance to feel the why before hearing the what. It created a subtle shift in the viewer's mind saying, this next moment matters. A great intro reel isn't just about build-up. It primes the audience to care about what comes next. And when you elevate your speakers, you elevate their message and they deliver with clarity. And your hosts, whether that's an MC, a staff member, your executive director, their job is to set the tone. Thrive didn't throw in a host just to check a box. They used them to lift the crowd before the main speaker even showed up. Music, crowd energy, live callouts, they knew the host was the bridge between content and real connection. If you've ever been to a comedy show or a concert, this is no different than an opening act before the main headliner hits the stage. Now, this one rarely gets acknowledged, but your internal team in production experience design is everything behind the scenes. Thrive had real-time communication between their hosts, producers, and support teams. You could hear it in how Dean handled different curveballs, like when unexpected audio leaked on air. He didn't panic, he reframed it. And things like that only happen when your team has clear roles and a shared understanding of what the experience is supposed to feel like. So let me ask you, do you know who the true stakeholders of your event are? Because if you don't, you're not really designing an experience, you're just managing a list. And in this new era of high impact events, that's not enough anymore. And while the stakeholders might be different depending on your industry, this framework still applies. In education, your speakers might be faculty, your audience might be students or administrators. In a nonprofit, your stakeholders could include community leaders, donors, program participants. And coaching or professional services, that might mean clients, prospects, or internal teams. So the question isn't who's watching, it's who are we designing this for? And how can we make each of those people feel like they're a part of something that matters? And here's where it gets deeper. The experience you create for your event stakeholders doesn't just impact what happens in the moment. it directly affects your organizational stakeholders, the decision makers, the funders, the board members, the business owners that are looking at these events with long-term goals in mind. In a coaching business, that stakeholder might be you. In a nonprofit, it might be your executive director or funder. In a university, it could be a department head that's watching post-event engagement to determine next year's budget. Whoever it is, their needle only moves if people move, if people take action, if people buy in, if people remember what they experienced. And Thrive was a perfect example. While the event itself was full of energy and service-driven teaching, there was also a clear organizational outcome tied to it. They were introducing the Mastermind Business System, a premium mastermind offer designed to help attendees start or grow their coaching business. And as the event was happening, people were buying it in real time, not because they were pressured, but because they were moved. And that's the key. If your audience doesn't move, your mission can't scale. And that doesn't just happen by informing people. You drive that kind of action by creating an experience worth believing in. And that doesn't happen by accident either. It starts with experience design. And once you understand that, you'll start building for real outcomes. And speaking of outcomes, you know what really landed for me the most with Thrive in 2025? It wasn't the Jumbotron style. It wasn't all of these different production aspects. It wasn't all of the things that I was looking at from a producer's perspective. It was the intention, honestly. It was the fact that everything that they said felt genuine, and it felt like they were really trying to give the frameworks, the tools, the mindset, the strategies to change someone's life. And it really resonated with me, and it really made me believe in myself and validate my own reason for being here, my own reason for making this video, my own reason for wanting to create the impact in my niche, in my space. You know, a lot of times when you're working with event planners or other vendors, or you're on a production set, it gets so easy to get caught up in the planning and the logistics, and you're just thinking of surviving the show. Show up, don't crash and burn, move on to the next. I see that so often. Dean even said that there were 150 people working on the production for this event, from the pre-planning phase all the way to the end. So I can only imagine how much really went into it. And to see them still lead with service and commit to the mission behind it was so powerful to me, because it truly came through and it was truly conveyed. And I think that's what a lot of organizations miss, right? Especially with virtual events, that deeper buy-in, that mission and the clarity behind it of what it is that you're trying to convey to your audience, and being present with them in that moment and seeing how you can help them move the mission forward and help them to help move the mission forward, if that makes sense. So those were some of the key takeaways that I got from Thrive that just really stuck with me outside of the producer's perspective, that I think if you incorporate into the backbone and the foundation of what you're doing for your virtual event, and you also accompany all of the psychology that I just broke down and all of the different strategies with the experience design, that you're going to set yourself up to have these high impact events. Even if you don't have the biggest budget, you're going to be able to work within your budget and still deliver that impact, because ultimately that's what it's all about. Especially in this new era that we're moving into, information is everywhere. People already know where to go get information. They know where it is. It's a dime a dozen. People are giving out good information, bad information, but people want to feel a part of something bigger. They want to feel like they're doing something purposeful, right? They don't want to just get talked at. They want to feel like you actually understand their situation and what they're going through, and that you want to help them in that situation. You want to help give them that purpose. You want to help give them that feeling that inspires them to change, to take the action, to get where they want to be, and ultimately move your mission forward, right? But they have to buy into it. They have to believe it. They have to resonate with it. And if we stick to these cookie cutter things of what we've been doing for the past decade, even though we know post-pandemic everything has changed, you're not going to keep up. So that is what really stuck with me watching Thrive in 2025, that I'm taking to heart regardless of what I do, because I don't want CTSolutions to be known for that. Even though, yes, we do great production, we have tight execution, that is not what I want us to be known for. I want us to be known for moving other people's missions forward, giving other people the tools, the resources, the capabilities to be able to enhance their mission, enhance their voice, and have that impact on their communities. Because ultimately, that's what we're here for. So if you've made it this far and you're still wondering whether virtual events are worth it, let me just say this. It's not that virtual events don't work. It's that most people haven't been taught how to do it right. Like I said earlier, a lot of organizations already have the community, already have the mission, already have the impact. They just don't know how to translate it online in a way that makes people buy in a way that makes people feel connected through a screen. So if you've been feeling stuck trying to navigate this virtual event landscape, not knowing where to go next, maybe it's time to bring someone who sees the whole picture. Not just the production, not just the tech, not just the platforms, but the story, the energy, the experience. So here's what I want you to do. Book a free consultation in the description below, and let's have a real conversation about what you're working on and where you want to take it. I'll help you find any blind spots or gaps that you might have, build a clear strategy, and start mapping out what your next high impact virtual event could look like. And if you're not ready for a call yet, follow me on LinkedIn, because over there I share tips, strategies, and different frameworks that can help you rethink what's possible in this space. Because I'll be honest, virtual events aren't going anywhere. And the leaders that learn how to use this format with intention, strategy, and care, those are the ones who are seen. Those are the ones who are heard. Those are the ones whose impact grows year after year. While I hate to say it, but everyone else, they don't just fall behind, they start to fade into the noise. And you don't want to fade into the noise with so much that's coming out, especially online nowadays. So many people are putting out information. So many people are doing different things. You got to find a way to separate yourself and break free from the noise. So connect with me over there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.